was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood.
No complaints. How about yourself? Oh yeah. Going on my fourth year. It's good to be on. Go ahead. Uh, I'm smoking some Tim Byron Ventures, The Patience of Dr. Silence. And this pipe was actually gifted to my wife. It's Cometto by a fellow at the Columbus Pipe Show last year. Just some random fellow walked up and asked her if she wanted a beautiful pipe and handed it over to her. We found out a few months later that he had passed away. He went around the pipe show and just handed out his pipe collection.
Oh man, really? That is crazy.
Yep.
So, I actually just realized, so one of the reasons we do a tech check, and one of the joys of live streaming, for the opening, I don't think my audio was actually live. So, for those of you who didn't catch that, Eric Mills is here with us on the Order of the Pipe. I'm West, this is Eric Mills, and thank you so much. They heard you speaking, but I don't think people heard me for the first, intro. So, good times. We're all professionals here. That's what we do.
Shit happens.
So, as far as what I'm smoking, I actually have to give a special thanks to Blake, good buddy Blake, well, good buddy now especially, sent me some 2016 Luxury Bullseye Flake. So I have some of that broken up, smoking that today. And this stuff is amazing. After a few years of age, and it's funny, if you look at the color on this stuff, I just want to get this out and show everybody. I gotta show you this. How the color changes over time is incredible. Get a couple of these flakes out here. 1 second. Dead air. That's what we do. But that's fine. That's fine. So hopefully this shows up on the camera well. But it just darkens and and gets more rich over time. And it got super mellow. So Blake, thank you so much. I will actually do a full review and compare these two tobaccos. But man, I'm really happy to be smoking these. And I'm actually smoking these out of my first corncob pipe. So I've been smoking pipes for about 20 years, off and on for about 20 years. And I've never actually owned, a real corncob pipe before. So this is one of my first. I got it at the Columbus show last week. And I'm pretty happy with it. These things perform pretty well. I had no idea. So how long you been into to cob pipes, Eric?
Making them or smoking them? Because I honestly only ever had one before I started making them.
Really? So
Yeah.
what got you into that transition there?
I had ordered a custom cob from a fellow on Facebook. For the life of me, I can't remember his name. It was built on the Marcus bowl. It was like a miniature Mark Twain, and I wanted a bamboo shank and a acrylic stem. And what I got was something that the guy had either stuck together with Elmer's glue and whatnot. That was the start of all this.
Right.
And of course, I always looked at John Keller, JWK 2366's pipes. I thought those are awesome and whatnot. But I had never commissioned one to be made.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can do better than this.
Yeah. Well, clearly you are. The work that you do is incredible. Was there like much of a learning curve in getting into it? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. I lost my audio. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, that was weird. Okay. Having some audio issues here, I apologize.
Speaking through my Bluetooth.
Yeah, sorry about that. So, was there much of a learning curve in figuring out how to do this then? It seems like you're working out of your wood shop right now. It seems like you have some pretty good background in woodworking.
I had a fair amount of background in woodworking. Biggest thing was that when I started, I didn't have a wood shop. I literally had a drill press.
That's it.
Yeah, so everything was literally done on the drill press. It was convoluted and oftentimes pretty freaking dangerous. but shit flying left and right and whatnot. But that's how I started. It wasn't until I'd been making custom cobs for like, I don't know, 4 months before I could afford to buy a lathe.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, once I bought my first lathe, then it was a game changer. Everything was, just 10 times easier. Of course, the quality increased exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
But now I look at there are guys that still have some of my first cobs, and they still smoke them all the time. And
really,
they were happy with them. But I'm looking at pictures that pop up every now and again on my memories on my phone. And I was like, damn, how did I sell that?
Oh man. So you and I were talking before the show, and you were talking about some of the differences between custom cobs versus the mass-produced things, right? So what are some of the main differences that you've seen that make a custom cob so much better than one that you might see that's again mass-produced?
Well, any custom cob, it doesn't matter the maker. I mean, obviously your fit and finish is going to be superior. That's the biggest thing, is the quality of the fit and the finish. Mm-hmm. And when you're asking somebody to spend $120, $130 per pipe, it should be, a feat of engineering, genius. Not, well, I grabbed the 5/16 drill bit, so that's what your tendon's or your mortise is going to be today. And tomorrow, I'll grab the 3/8, so that's what we're going with today. And I'm sorry your stem fell out or whatnot, like you get with Missouri Mershon pipes. And I understand they're producing 10,000 a day, so it's a completely different world. When you're dealing with a custom, it is truly custom. And the quality should come with that.
Okay, that makes sense. So I think one of a lot of people's concerns with cobs is, and you mentioned this earlier also, that maybe they're not as durable as some other materials. And I've spoken with you, I've spoken with a few other people, and that doesn't seem to be the case. What do you think makes a good cob as far as how it's going to hold up over time? Aside from not smoking it like a chimney, which might be one of my bad habits. I won't acknowledge that.
The biggest thing is the cob has very similar brittle hardness to briar.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're measuring hardness, it's in bristles, and cob's very similar. It's within half a point of briar, so it's not the cob material itself. Oftentimes, the biggest issue is actually how people smoke them. When you pay $7, $8, $9, $10 for a cob, you don't respect it as much as you're going to respect, say, a $150 pipe.
Mm-hmm.
To people that use them. One thing I've noticed is in old cobs, and they're still sturdy. For the most part, they're still strong. Sometimes they've been smoked so much they become brittle. That's abuse. There's nothing per se that I as a maker can do other than obviously plugging it with briar, using bull coat, whatnot, that's going to make it harder or more durable. It already has the natural durability. I think it's a price point issue. If you buy a $125 cob, custom cob, you're going to treat it like the $125 custom cob. It's just like a briar. If you buy a $7 cob, that's probably going to be how you treat it.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, actually. So I would never imagine that the cob material can be that hard, though, like that durable. Does it need to be treated any certain way in order to get that durability?
Missouri Meerschaum, typically, when they get their harvest, the bull that you get might be 3 to 5 years old as far as the corn that they use themselves. So it goes through drying processes, and as it dries, it hardens. Plus, they're using genetically modified seed. They're not using cobs like you're going to go out in the field and pick off the stalk. Their cobs are genetically modified. They have that down to a science. They know exactly what they need. It's just like the Dagner poker bowl here. One of these. This has its own specific seed that they use. If I could get, there we go. I was so damn dumb and could get it to focus.
Look, little higher, little higher. There, we saw it though. That's awesome though. So I didn't know
right there.
So they use their own custom type of corn. It's not like corn you would eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from my understanding, having done some collaboration work with Jason Dagner Pipes, his pokers has its own strand of seed. Missouri Meerschaum uses different strands of seeds for different bowls, and they're genetically modified to make them stronger, more durable.
That's really interesting. I had no idea. So it's a completely different type of corn. I guess that makes sense. So what is? Can you walk us through your process a little bit, like how you make your custom cobs? Now, if there's any like proprietary secrets, keep those to yourself.
No, there's nothing proprietary. The biggest thing is I very rarely have a plan. I come in, I grab a bowl, I look it over, I kind of come up with a general idea in my head. I'll go through my acrylic stock or my ebonite stock, pick a stem material. I'll go through different accent materials. I'll, go through my briar and find a nice piece of briar. If it's going to be a smooth shank, it's going to be rusticated. I might go with a slightly lesser grade, obviously. Everything is basically done on the fly, if you want to know the truth. I mean, some pipes that I make, I'll kind of generally sketch it out. And then 9 times out of 10, I will deviate vastly from that design. I mean, as far as my process goes, one day I'll make the stem first. and then build everything around it. Other days I will do the bowl and the shank, and then build the stem to fit that.
Okay, that makes sense. Really interesting. So do you ever
Well, it
run?
doesn't make any sense, but it works.
It works for you, right? So, and you put out a lot of these pipes. Like you said, you put out, 5 or more a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's great
Correct.
turnaround. That's great turnaround. So, um, do you do this? Do you put out 5 or 10 every week, and you just pull in that kind of, that kind of revenue, or do you do like a commission basis? Like you have a certain number of people asking for pipes, and you kind of make them as the orders come in.
I try to have at least 2 or 3 available pipes every week. The rest of my work is commission work. I literally just cleared my commissions for the past, what, 3 months? Talking to my wife here. She's my memory. Yeah, probably 3 months, and I've already got commissions again that are going to cover me for probably a month.
That's amazing. That's incredible how much work you get from this and how many of these you put out. That's incredible. And you don't even do this with a website. You don't even have a website right now. You get all your orders through Instagram, I assume?
90% Instagram, 10% Facebook.
That's cool. That's great. I mean, and your following is awesome. Have you thought about, just stockpiling a bunch of your work and getting a table at a show or something one year?
Yeah, every year since 2019. Unfortunately, it never works out. When I do have a small amount of excess, it just sells so fast that I'm not capable. I could, but I'm too much of a slacker.
I get that. I definitely get that. So Blake actually mentions that he thinks Aristocob sells the seeds for the cobs, which is really interesting.
He does. He does.
Have you ever thought about growing your own corn and trying like from scratch, or is it like it's not worth the effort?
For me, for my time, the amount of time I have, it's probably not worth the effort. I applaud anybody that's got the time and patience to do it. I do not.
I don't blame you. Do you ever do briar pipes? So I've seen you built some briar shanks for your pipes.
Mm-hmm. We do. Usually that's a joint effort between my wife and I as far as briar pipes go. She's more inclined to briar than I am. So I do rough turning of anything, and then she finishes it out.
That's awesome, and I'm glad she's sitting next to you because I think I saw on her Instagram page that she makes briar pipes.
And she does. Very limited.
That's
We both
really
run
cool, though.
small businesses, so time is limited.
Do you sell both of those under your ECM Custom Cobs brand?
EMC, yeah.
ECM is it EMC? Yep, EMC. So I actually mistyped your company name on the card here. I apologize. Everybody, it's EMC Custom Cobs, not ECM Custom Cobs.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Oh man, I'm glad you called that out. That was that's my bad. I'll put I'll make sure the correct link is in the bio, or in the description. So anyway, that's really cool. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna run through. I'm gonna switch over to your Instagram page, and hopefully I don't mess up the audio even more. We will see how this works out. Let's see. 1 second here. Oop, that's not even the right page. Alrighty, it's one of these. Here we go. Okay, so let's run through some of these. So your work is really interesting. This is actually one that you just finished today, right?
Yes. Correct.
So can you walk us through your process? You and I were talking about some of the work you did here, and I really like this this style you did here on the stem.
Basically, with that one, it's a black illuminite acrylic stem, I added an aluminum spigot to it. Now it does have a standard 1/4 inch Delrin tenon that actually runs through it, so it does function like a normal pipe stem without all the hassles of a spigot. Really, there's not much to tell. Basically, with that one, I just kind of got a random idea. So I figured, well, hell, let's turn some aluminum today. And that's what we did.
That looks great, though. I love that spigot style.
That one actually turned out really well. Like we talked earlier, I had done one earlier in the spring, but I made the spigot section too long. I wasn't particularly happy with it. So this one, I was a little bit more careful to measure, and I wanted something more compact, something with a lot of class, but in a more compact package. The majority of the pipes I sell are either 5 inches long or 7 inches long. There's not a lot in the middle.
Interesting, though. Interesting. Yeah, let's run through a couple others here. Let's see what else we got.
Go ahead.
So what you do is basically you buy a bunch of Missouri Meerschaums and you customize them. And I see you got the new Saint Nicholas, which I have a rant about, and I need to sort of rant about this a little bit. They're already jumping to Christmas blends. Where's a Halloween blend or an autumn blend? Cornell and Deal, I need to have a talk with Jeremy Reeves because he needs to make a good autumn blend.
Good luck.
Well, hopefully I'm going to have him on actually closer to the end of November, so we'll see how that goes. Fingers crossed. All right.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, Jeremy's a pretty, he's a solid dude. I mean, I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, he does take people's input. And if there's enough input, you might be surprised what you can accomplish.
Yeah, every time I've seen him speak, I mean, he seems really, really just down to earth, considering, how influential he is in this entire community. Like, he's the go-to guy, so that's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let's see. You have some just amazing designs. So tell us about these. So these are not cobs. Are these? Did you?
No, those are briar.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So you actually you made these from scratch then.
Correct.
How many of these do you think you make a year?
I don't do many of them. I probably should. That particular one was a set for a really good friend of my wife, Katrina, and I. And he'd seen the previous set, but he wanted more of a hard defining line between the rustication and the smooth. So, believe it or not, that was a hell of a lot more challenging than I thought it was going to be. To get that's perfectly uniform all the way around on both the pipe itself and the tamper. I literally measured that all the way around, and it is perfectly uniform. It was quite a challenge.
Yeah, I actually really love that matching tamper. That looks really cool.
The only thing I didn't like about it is in that picture, the smooth part of the briar on the tamper, the way the light caught it, because it came from the same block, it looks more yellow. But what you don't see is that because I wanted to incorporate some of the acrylic, so I actually counterbored the top of the smooth briar with a piece of the acrylic. So there's actually a acrylic dot, a 5/16 dot in the top of the acrylic.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. No, that looks great. That looks awesome. And that looks really cool. So there's some others in here that just are amazing, and we got to talk about these. So here's a question that I have. So some of the cobs you get. Let me make sure the audio is working. Okay, so some of the cobs are they have this sort of smooth finish here, and some of them have this
Yes.
sort of like like I don't know if you call it like a cob rustication. Is this something that you
Yeah,
do,
basically.
or is this something that that? Oh, hang on, switch screens. The joys of live streaming. Okay, is that something that you do, or is that something that that the cobs that you get to make these, they already have this sort of patterning built in?
Well, yes and no. There's two ways you can go about it. You can buy a Missouri Pride Bowl, which is basically what you see there. It still has part of the kernel in it and whatnot. What I do, and this is kind of a trade secret, and I'll probably kick myself in the ass, is I actually use legend bowls, and I'll turn them down, and then I will Dremel that out. What I found is I get a way better finish, and there's way more uniformity to the rustication than with the Missouri Pride Bowls.
Interesting. So you'd actually call this a rustication?
Yes, that's what I call it. Some folks call it like a picked out bowl, but I would consider it to be rusticated.
Yeah, that's really cool. That just makes a really unique look. That's awesome. And you got some others here that we have to get to. Let's see. So there's some that you do where you create custom boxes, and we gotta talk about these. So here's a great example. Let me find one with the box top on this. Is this one of the boxes here that you made?
Yes, that's the Vecna box set. A friend of mine commissioned that set.
Oh yeah. So yeah, the Vecna from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Let's see. Here's the one that I really like. I wanna get this up and play this. So
Yeah, that was the one that everybody went crazy for. That and the Eddie Munson box.
yeah, this is super cool. So tell us about the process. So you made the pipe. You told me that somebody else makes the boxes.
My daughter makes the boxes, so she does the boxes. She's the artist in the family, so she does. So basically, what she does is she burns the image on the top with a wood burner, and then she mixes she'll mix her own dyes up, and she'll color. So everything you see is basically different alcohol dyes that she uses to color the images.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, she does the box with just regular leather dye because it gives it a nice the look you're going for with something like that. Because these sets are kind of macabre in nature. I mean, they're based on H.P. Lovecraft and his works. Well, most of them, obviously. So it gives it a nice weather-worn finish. And of course, the hinges, I patina the hinges with A1 steak sauce, oddly enough.
Wait, hang on.
Perfect.
You patina the hinges with A1 steak sauce.
Yeah. It has like this ridiculously high amount of vinegar and citric acid in it. So I will just brush on A1 steak sauce on metal hinges and let it sit overnight, and that's what you come out with.
That's awesome. Like, so I just want. There may be a story behind this or not. I kind of want to know the discovery process where you're like, what type of condiment is going to give me the best patina on a brass hinge?
Well, it all kind of happened because typically you just use vinegar and salt. So you like give it a salt bath, you cover it with salt, then you pour vinegar over it, and that activates the process. Well, I was out of regular white vinegar. So I was like, well, there's obviously got to be something around here. So I tried mustard, and it worked pretty well. I was thinking, I bet there's a lot of vinegar in A1 steak sauce. So I gave it a shot, and it worked.
That's hilarious. Like, I never would have guessed. Out of everything, that's really funny. It works, though. It looks great. I mean, that box is so cool.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to do them outside because the light in my shop is so terrible. It's not really terrible, but it's a mix of old halogen bulbs and new LED bulbs. So that creates this weird, one part of the shop is like daylight, the other part of the shop is very yellow because of the halogen bulbs. So unfortunately, we had to do these images outside, and our old phones, the camera on my old phone, um, just didn't like the daylight. So it washed everything out. There's a hell of a lot more depth and nuance to the pipe and the box, but my old phone just couldn't pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell just by looking at it. There's a lot of just little details you'd never notice until you actually see it, in person. And I mean,
Yeah.
all your pipes are just amazing. Actually, this one right here, this might be my favorite that I've seen so far on your page. I mean, this is awesome. Is this a custom job here?
Yeah.
Or not custom? Is this is this a commission maybe?
It was a commission. That's actually the Vecna pipe. Now, my original plan was, of course, I was commissioned by a friend too. He wanted a freehand style bowl, but he wanted it to look like tortured. So this is just what I came up with. Of course, it's reinforced carbon fiber tubing. So inside the carbon fiber, there's some stainless steel. It just helps reinforce it, keep it stronger. And then I thought, well, the upside down. If you've watched Stranger Things, which I honestly have only seen one season, and that's this last season. You had like these weird stones and floating around in the atmosphere and whatnot. So it's like, well, that kind of reminds me of the upside down a little bit. Let's go with that. And so this is what we came up with. The stem is actually it's a limited edition pour of a red black kind of a flame swirl that I'd found somewhere. I don't remember who I got it from, honestly. I think it was Cocoon Blanks, but it's also semi-translucent. So the stem itself gives it some pretty awesome depth. Plus, you can see the funneling and whatnot in the stem itself. Because I really like semi-translucent materials, basically, so I could show off my slotting skills. And if you do it really well, it's really awesome.
Right. No, this looks incredible. This is awesome. So how many custom orders do you get versus just ones that you make and just sell because people want your stuff?
Out of 10 pipes, 6 of them are typically commissions. Of course, that number varies. Sometimes it's 7 are commissions and 3 are, available pipes. Sometimes it's 50-50. It's just, there's not a lot of consistency to it. I can tell you this much, my commission log is always pretty full.
Sorry about that. So I keep switching back between muting myself and not. So there's some audio issues. But we have a question here. So Blake asks if you have an email address and not just Instagram and Facebook that we can check out that we can contact you.
Yeah, it's umxfit@gmail.com.
That is awesome. I mean, your work is incredible. I can't imagine that if you ever got to the point to where you wanted to make this like a big thing, like you could easily sell, multiple numbers of what you're doing now. Like you could do, 5 times what you're doing now.
Oh,
have you thought about really expanding like that?
I have, and I've actually had a fellow on Instagram who ended up being a pretty good friend. He even offered to help me automate, but if I automate, then it's not my product.
Yeah, that makes sense
And
because yeah, I mean you want it to be custom. You don't want it to come off you don't want it to come off of an assembly line, right?
no, I mean, yeah, I can make a lot of money, I'm sure, but not at the expense of my my work. My integrity means more to me than that. And when I build each one, I know that it's right.
Right, exactly, and that's it too. Like one of the great things about custom cubs, I think, and I need to actually buy one of your pipes once you have more complete. I think one of the great things about the custom cobs is they're custom handmade by a person. Like you know it's good quality. It's not just in a batch of 500 more that are exactly the same.
Well, and I try to buy and support, small makers as much as possible. Right now I'm working with a small batch tobacco blender. We're working on a house blend and a couple of special edition blends for some upcoming sets that we got going on. In October, we'll have our annual box sets, which this year's theme is vampires,
Nice, I
due to
like
my
it.
daughter's insistence. And then, of course, our holiday pipes that we do. And so I kind of come up with the idea it'd be really cool to have some custom blends for those sets. And of course, it's always cool to have your own house blend or two or five.
Right. So you're gonna have your own PMC custom cobs blends.
Yes.
That's awesome. So are you making the decisions on these blends, or are you working in tandem with this other blender to develop these for you?
Well, he's blending them, sending me the samples, and then I will be my wife and I will be testing them. She's a closet pipe smoker. Actually, she's the one that owns all the expensive pipes and tobacco.
That's hilarious. That's funny. Is she just off to the side rolling her eyes at you right now?
Yes, pretty much.
It's okay. I get that all the time too. So now I have to ask. That's awesome. What are your favorite blend types? What are your favorite styles and tobacco blends?
I'm very eclectic. Now, typically, I lean towards either a strong English or a nice Balkan blend. But I'll also smoke an aromatic, and I'm not ashamed of it. And one thing that I enjoy a vapor, but right now, since I've had COVID, I'm one of those people that I got COVID in January, and 3 months later, lost my sense of taste and smell.
Oh, that stinks.
So Virginias and vapors, they don't work for me now. They just taste like cigarettes.
So your sense of taste
now
didn't fully come back.
It actually fully came back, and then it went away again. And I guess there's a small percentage of people that happens to. And I just happen to be one of them.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, that really stinks. So now you have to go for more, robust flavors in your tobacco.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, there's some great Englishes and Balkans out there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So right now, well, basically, I sold off all my English or all my Virginias and vapors, and stocked up on some aromatics that I like this Jolly Old Saint Nick, which is probably my favorite holiday, Christmas blend. Unfortunately, Cornell and Deal does that 4-year rotation where they bring something back about every 4 years on their Christmas blends. And so I stocked up a little bit. I still have a couple tins of the old batch. Of course, I like figgy pudding from the Country Squire. And I hate to say it, but I do enjoy Cult's Blood Red Moon occasionally.
I have a tin of that. I still haven't opened it yet. Yeah, I haven't had a lot of luck with the cherry aromatics. But, I mean, look, everybody likes what they like, so there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's awesome. I actually ordered a bunch of the new Christmas. What is it, St. Nicholas? So I have a lot of that. Should be here tomorrow. So I have a package to look forward to. Pretty excited about that. So when are you gonna have your blends available? Do you think?
Well, I should be getting the first samples by the end of next week. So hopefully our target is mid-September is our target. So basically, once we finalize and we agree, he's going to make small batches of each, up to 32 ounces, 24 to 32. The guy that I'm working with, he likes to do small batches because it gives him, finer control. So initially, it'll probably be, closer to 32 ounces, 2 pound mark of each blend. After that, depending on how it goes, I'm hoping it goes pretty well. Then we'll see. We'll have 3 blends initially. I'd like to do a vapor blend. I think right now they're all basically, one blend is medium-bodied English. The other is going to be Oriental forward. And then the blend that the actual EMC blend, which is actually going to be EMC Custom Cobb's Katrina's blend, it's going to be Oriental forward with some cigar leaf. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Cornell and Deal does tend to do the cigar leaf in their blends periodically, and whenever they do, I love it. I think that's a great addition. I actually bought half a pound of cigar leaf just so I could sprinkle it into some of my other stuff. So I actually there's been a couple of people on here that have asked for your email address. So we're going to give that out again. But also, these are people who say they're not on Facebook, they're not on Instagram. So if people email you, do you have any kind of like email list that you can just blast out an email when you get this stuff available? Anything like that going on?
I do not. But it's always something that I can obviously work on, find a program that would allow me to do that or whatever. So that's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get to that point, let me know. I'm actually in digital marketing myself, so I can help you set that stuff up. It's funny, before we were online, I was telling you that I have no practical real-world skills. So unless it's on the computer, I can't really do much. Luckily, that's one of the things I can do. So if you ever have any questions about that kind of stuff, definitely let me know. But so back to the Cobb. First of all, I'm super excited about the blends. I'm gonna keep my eyes open on your Instagram and your Facebook for when those come out, because I don't want that to sell out before I get a chance to grab some. But yeah, before we get back to the Cobbs, what increments are you gonna sell those in? Like you gonna sell jars? You gonna sell a couple ounces in a baggie? How are you gonna do this?
Probably a couple ounces in of course, a heavier bag. We're looking into that aspect. Don't know if we're going to do it more like the Country Squire does, where you use like a 5 mil heavy plastic bag with a nice label to let people know what on earth it is, or if we're going to go with more like Kim Byron does with his sealed Mylar bags. Not sure yet. First, I want to get it in my hands and finalize and send some out to some people just to kind of get an idea of what they think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Of course,
that's really exciting.
Get some in your hands, and then get some in my oldest son's hands, because he's a pipe smoker as well, because I'm older than hell. And my oldest is 27.
That's not that old. I could have kids that are 27. That's not that old. You're not an old man. There's no way.
I feel it.
It's hard work. So back to the pipes a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I have a bad habit of, usually when I'm having a pipe, it's, in the afternoons, it's towards the end of my day, but I'm still at work, right? So one of my bad habits is I pace when I'm thinking or when I'm speaking in meetings. So, what I'll do is I'll have a pipe clenched in my mouth while I'm doing the same thing, And because of my activity, I tend to smoke kind of like a chimney. I just, it's just a bad habit I have, and the bowls tend to get a little hot. I tend to burn through bowls a little quicker than I should. What's the average life expectancy for a good custom cob pipe?
I've been doing this for 4 years, and I have people that's you know people that bought pipes like a month after I started making them that smoke them every day. It's all about the cadence.
That's incredible. That's awesome. So it's all about your cadence of your smoke, how hot you let it burn. It's funny at the Columbus show, there was a guy who was using his buddy's blowtorch essentially to light his bowl. And I mean, you should have saw the way this thing lit on fire. It was like he was setting off fireworks. I've never seen anything like it. It was hilarious. I imagine a hole burning right through the side of his pipe any day now.
Well, I've been smoking for quite a few years now. Never burn a pipe out, never burn a briar out, never burn a cob out. It's all about your cadence. And I mean, if you smoke like a freight train, if you abuse your pipe, you might get a couple of years. But the same can be said for a briar. You buy a $700 Dunhill and burn it out in 2 years. Or you could smoke with a even slow cadence and it could last you 70.
I've heard the same thing. So I think that's real. I genuinely had no idea the material was that dense that it could last you, so long. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And somebody else was telling me, it may have been Alan from the Pipe Cottage was saying that some custom cobs they'll have a plaster or something at the bottom, and the inside of the bowl might be lined with a different material that can add to the durability. Is that a thing?
Well, some people use what is called pipe mud. So pipe mud basically was the brainchild of Scott at Aristocob. And originally it was a mixture of cigar ash and something else. And I don't know what the something else was. I think it was graphite. Don't hold me to that. And you mix it with a little bit of water. You mix it up and it would become like a muddy like substance. And then people would pack it around. Like if you look inside your pipe, you're going to see where the shank goes in. You're going to see that portion that goes inside the bowl. That's called the plinth. And what they would do is you would pack that mud around there to kind of make it more even, so you don't have to pack it that falls beside the shank and whatnot inside. That can increase durability. Now, what most custom cob makers actually do is we coat the inside of the bowl, and everybody's got their own concoction, their own mixture. I use a mixture of 50% activated charcoal and 50% sour cream. That's the same recipe that pipe makers have been using since 1900. The charcoal itself, the activated charcoal, neutralizes the bacterium, and basically it hardens to a very hard substance. Every bowl gets 2 coats. I know other guys will use buttermilk and activated charcoal. Some guys will use like a heavy whipping cream, like you might put in your coffee, not whipped cream, like you get out of the tub.
Right.
And charcoal. There's a lot of confusion about that. And when guys ask me, well, I mixed up this whipped cream with this charcoal, and I don't think this is like, that's not what it did, dumbass.
Whipped cream. It came right out of the can. I don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
So when you bought, go ahead.
My radio didn't work.
Exactly. So
that actually has happened.
I actually believe that. That's hilarious. That's a really funny story. And one of the reasons I ask is in my Missouri Meerschaums I got, they don't have any kind of lining or any of that.
No.
So is this something that you would recommend somebody make up on their own and put in their cobs, or is it just not really worth it unless you buy a really high-end custom cob?
If you are the type of person that buys all the specialty cobs, so every time a specialty cob comes out, you buy it. There's a lot of guys that do that, good on them. Don't get me twisted. I would. If you're spending $30 for a factory custom cob, why not coat the bowl?
Right?
Why
Makes
not
sense.
mix up some, pipe mud and pack in? I mean, it doesn't hurt a thing. I mean, for no more than it would actually cost you. I mean, what? $2
Yeah,
might
interesting.
increase the life of your pipe 5 years.
Interesting. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna try your recipe, and I'm gonna make a video doing this, and I'm gonna pack one of my pipes with this stuff, and if I drastically screw it up and look like an idiot, I'll make sure to send you a link, and you can make fun of me later.
Well, the difference between my cobs and what a Missouri Meerschaum is, there is no portion of the shank that goes inside of the pipe. So it is actually conical bore, parabolic bore. Take your pick on the terminology you want to use in the bottom. So it performs like a traditional pipe.
Right, exactly. So for those who have bought just a normal Missouri Meerschaum, you can actually see where it goes into the pipe, and it's you can see how it's mechanically just jammed in there, and I assume glued in place.
Yeah. I've heard they use Tight Bond too, wood glue. I've heard that they use Elmer's glue. I'm not really sure what they use, honestly. I know that when I take them apart, I throw them in the microwave for 30 seconds and pull everything apart. If it's got a hardwood plug, I drive it out. I do think that they might use some sort of hot glue type adhesive for the plugs because the residue inside is very similar. But it never comes in contact with the inside of the bowl, so it doesn't hurt a thing.
Right, that's interesting. That's really really interesting. That's good to know. So yeah, again, these are my first cobs, so I'm pretty excited about them. I'm actually really surprised at how well they're performing. They smoke cool, they smoke dry, a lot drier than my Briars. So I mean, very interesting material. I think, I regret not having gone with these in the past.
I understand that.
Yeah. So, it. Do you smoke many of your own pipes? Like, do you have your own collection of things that you make like just for you? Like, I'm making this one, and it's just for me, and it's like you don't even tell the world about it because it's kind of your thing. Like, I would totally do that.
Nope. I do not even own one of my pipes.
Really? You just make them and you sell them.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I can't say I blame you. I mean, that's good business right there.
I made one back in 2020. I made one fantastic. It was fantastic pipe. It was built on Dagner Bowl, and I had posted it. I had said that it was for me, and somebody who will remain nameless who wanted it, so I ended up sending it to him. But it is what it is.
You're a good friend. You're a good friend. That's all there is to it.
Well, I guess. So I never even smoked it. I was just like, all right, what the hell ever. Now I've made a couple for my wife. Quality control.
Of course, of course.
So she basically could verify my work if nobody else can.
Ah, that's great. So you said that your wife is a closet pipe smoker, and not that closeted, because I've seen her Instagram and she has quite a few pipes on there as well. What is her favorite?
Yes.
What's her favorite tobacco blend? What does she smoke when she has a preference?
Frog Morton.
Oh, so she has little expensive tastes, is what you're trying to say?
Yep.
You got to be careful. She's going to put you in the poorhouse trying to find Frog Morton.
No, it's either Frog Morton or Stonehaven for her.
Look, you can't knock her for having great taste. That is awesome. That's fantastic. Look, if you have any extra Frog Morton sitting around, feel free to send it to me. I will gladly take that off your hands if you have any extra. So do you guys? So she works in Briar a lot, and you work in the Cobbs primarily. Do you guys ever do like really good collaborations where you'll have like a good like Mills family pipe that you put out?
Mm, most of the briars that we do are collaboration. Basically, I do all like I'll make the stem, I'll do all the fitting, things like that. She does shaping, rusticating, and finish work. So it is basically every one of the briars is a collaboration.
That's incredible. That's awesome, and I can't wait to see get my hands on some of your pipes. The thing is, it seems like you sell them almost before they go before you post them on Instagram. Like you're in high demand.
Well, I have a list of people that I send pictures to first. Um, Somebody may message me. They may say, "Hey, I'm looking for something like this," and if I just happen to be working on something similar to that, I'll shoot you pictures when it's done, and just go from there. And if they pass, I'll post it up.
Ah, that's great to know. That's great to know. So if people who email you because they're not on Instagram or
Mhm.
Facebook, they might get a some photos sent out just to see who's interested, see what bites.
Basically, yeah.
Good to know. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, that would make sense to send to them first and then post. That way, otherwise, they'll never get a pipe.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I mean, your work is incredible, and yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on one or two of your pipes. I want one of your briars, and I want one of your cobs. And if hypothetically somebody was looking through your Instagram and they see that Vecna pipe, for instance, and they're like, I want one of those. How like what's the waiting period for one of your custom pipes?
Um, well, that varies. If I have what I need on hand and I'm not jumping over a bunch of people, so say I've got 12 commissions lined up, but I have to order materials for them. That they want specific stem material, whatever, and I have to order it. So all 12 of those people have something specific they want, and I can't meet that demand. But you jump in and you're like, hey, and I have everything that you're looking for. I'll make your pipe. Because there's absolutely no reason not to meet the demands if I can while I'm waiting to meet other people's demands. That's always been my business model. Now that being said, I won't jump over somebody if I have all the materials and I just don't feel like it. There's a I won't say that there are a lot of makers like that, but there's a hell of a lot of makers like that.
Yeah, I believe
Not
it.
in the cob world, but in the briar world.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe it. I've spoken to quite a few Briar craftsmen who make these things, and you're right. You're totally right. So are there a lot of people in the custom cob world? Is it kind of a small community? Are there like a lot of people out there doing this? Because I look on Instagram and you see one or two who are making some decent pipes, decent cobs. But I mean, yours really stood out immediately when I was looking through.
There is, let's see, there's of course John Keller, JWK 2366, the Cob Goblin, Christian Olt, which he's not really doing a whole lot now. He's busy as hell.
That's a cool name though.
There's Dimitri, Dr. D Pipes. There's Andy Everett. And there's Tina Campbell. Um, Candy, Candy Sprinkles. That's all of the people that I know of. I mean, I'm sure there's others out there, but off the top of my head, those are the people I know of. I've interacted with.
Are you guys a pretty tight community? Like, do you guys like share secrets and kind of talk about what you're doing, how's business? What you guys do. Does it get competitive? Do you guys see yourselves like as competing with each other, or is it kind of like, hey, we're in this together sort of thing?
I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for other people because I know how some other people feel. Um, like John Keller, uh, you know, he mentored me when I first started this insanity, sent me materials. Um, I went from having like 250 Instagram followers to he gave me a shout out back in 2000, like February 2019, and like 3 days I was over 1,000 followers.
Oh, that's cool. That is, see, and that's what I love about communities like this. And that's the reason I asked the question, because I don't notice a ton of, competitive behavior between, blenders and makers. You see some, but overall it's like everybody kind of feels this sense of community, like we're all in this together. And to see that and to hear that, that's just incredible. That is so awesome. I love that.
Well, and like Dimitri, Dr. D's pipes, he sent me. I did some, yeah, mammoth ivory and mammoth tooth accents on some pipes. Well, he sent that to me. He basically he was taunting me because I, I said, well, I think I could cut that and drill it pretty easily. So he sent me some. I think basically because it's hard ass material. Mammoth tooth is hard. I mean, it's harder than stainless steel to turn.
Really, I never would
Yeah,
guess that.
yeah, and of course, he gave me some tips. You have to stabilize it as you turn it, and this and that. But I think mostly he sent it to me just so I could get pissed off when it exploded in my face, and it never did. But what he didn't know was I have diamond lap in mill bits that
Okay.
cut right through it.
Wow.
So um, I didn't tell him that secret, but I knew what I was going to do. And of course, Chris Cobgoblin, we've bought each other's pipes. We've traded whiskey. Of course, he lives in Tennessee, home of bourbon. So
Of course, of course.
we did it around last Christmas. We did a local whiskey exchange because oddly enough, in Columbus, Ohio, there are a lot of whiskey distilleries.
We do. We have a lot of really good craft distilleries here, which is awesome. And you're not too far from here.
No, we've been to we've been to Noble Cut, which is over actually in Gahanna, and we've never been over there to the High Point or any of those. But when we went to Noble Cut, they were the only distillery that was actually open, and we just kind of, excuse me, got a burr one day, and we're like, let's go to a distillery during the shutdown.
I may or may not have had that same thought during the shutdown, and may or may not have gotten in trouble for that. So,
Yeah. So we, of course, Noble Cut, got online. Hell, they're still doing, distillery tours. So we went and did that and whatnot. But so yeah, so there's a lot of good people. Of course, Andy Everett, when I first started out, he was very supportive, which is, AJ Everett. As far as Candy Sprinkles and Tina Campbell, I don't have a lot of interactions with them, but that's mostly because the things they do are just not what I do. Like Candace Sprinkles, she does like artistic painting on cob. It's like she does some, she seals the cob and then she actually paints and then seals again. And Tina Campbell does the same thing. So just not in the same spheres. But as far as rivalry goes, not that I know of. I mean, and there's other one. What?
no, that's awesome though. That's really cool to hear like that you guys are a close community, and that just like so. One of my long-term goals, I would love to eventually get into woodworking and all this kind of stuff, but just to hear, how close you guys are, and it's almost a different level of community than even just a normal tobacco enthusiast, because you guys actually have the background and the skills that like you have more in common almost than a lot of other people in this type of community. So that's great. That is awesome. How did your wife get into woodworking? Is this something that she's always done? It doesn't seem like a. It's not a stereotypical wife thing to do, is to make briar pipes.
Well, long story. I spent a lot of hours in the shop. And she decided that if she was going to spend some of that time with me, she was going to have to come out to the shop. So that led to, well, I think I can make tampers. All right, well, let's try it. And then that led to other things. So basically, out of desperation, she decided to get into pipe making, tamper making, and whatnot.
Interesting, interesting. So, for just, the average guy who's watching this video or listening to the audio, if they wanted to get into making their own custom cobs, would you recommend maybe they just buy up a few inexpensive Missouri Meerschaums and customize them to the best of their ability and see what they come out with? Would that be like a good foot in the door?
That's basically the only foot in the door. That's the place you're going to start, because not everybody wants to drop, $1,000 on a lathe and another $700 on a lathe and $300 on a drill press and $800 for a for a miter saw. So the best place to start is start simple. Spend some money on some sandpaper. Spend some money on a good wire brush and a Dremel tool. Wire brush, because if you want to pick out a bowl, you're still going to want to wire brush it. So to get just all the little fine flakes and stuff that always get trapped in there, go take your ass to Hobby Lobby, buy some dark brown and some black leather dye. Don't use wood dye. Use leather dye. At the very minimum, buy a good hand drill, like electric drill that could spin at like 1500 RPM, so that you can buy some polishing wheels so you can polish and wax.
Interesting. So you said leather dye versus wood dye. So leather adheres to the cob material better then?
Well, all pipe makers use leather dye.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, leather dye is alcohol based. Now you can use alcohol inks and things like that, and a lot of people do, because you can make your own custom colors, but alcohol based. It penetrates very shallow. You don't want something petroleum based that's going to penetrate fully through the bowl, because then you're going to be smoking that.
Sorry, I was just reading some questions here. So interesting. Blake actually says that he tried to hack together a custom cob and it's ugly as sin. So I'm guessing there's a learning curve. In addition, the Smokin' Fireman says that he has a ton of your cobs and he's met you a few times. So he's actually pretty stoked about your product. So that's awesome. There's some testimonials right there.
Yeah, Cody.
Okay. Yeah, Smokin' Fireman. He knows who you are. Do you guys meet at shows, or do you meet your customers elsewhere?
Actually, last year at the pipe show and this year at the pipe show, he's an Ohio. Well, he's a West Virginia guy that moved to Ohio. Now he's back in West Virginia, but he still comes to the pipe show.
Yeah, that's cool. So this year at the Columbus show was my first show. So again, I've been smoking for like 20 years, and I've never been to a pipe show before. And just getting to hang out with the guys on the patio afterwards, and hearing everybody's stories, and finding out how far away people came in from. I mean, people were coming from, South Carolina, some from Mississippi, and I had no idea people came from that far away. And literally getting to meet people who watch these videos and I talk to on Instagram is just awesome. And again, this community is fantastic. So the fact that you actually know the names of your customers, and they're not just these faceless people that you send your cobs to. That's awesome. That's really saying something. It really is.
I know probably 98% of the people who buy from me. I mean, they're kind of important. Without them, this doesn't exist. I'm just another guy working in a factory or something. So yeah, I like to get to know these people.
Yeah, totally.
They matter.
Yeah, and Cameron Lancaster says, thanks for the info. He's been thinking about getting into custom cobs for some time, so he loves this information. Do you have any other tips or pointers that you might give to people who kind of want to, customize their own pipes at home?
Go as big and as bold as you want with the equipment you have. I mean, Vermont Freehand, get a hold of him, get a hold of Primal at Raw Crafted, buy pre-made stems. The fastest way to fix a cob is to replace the plastic stem. Go to the hardware, buy some oak dowel rods. If you have a drill press, make sure that the deck is square so that you can drill straight. Spend some money, a little bit of money on a good vise for your drill press. It goes big and as bold as you want. Worst case scenario, you screw it up and you start over.
You lost $30 and you got to start over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I spent, prime example, the first stem here for that pipe I finished today, I drilled too deep. And of course, you don't know that until after you've cut your stem. So, I had to start over. That's just how it is. So you screw up, you start over, and you learn from it.
It's all a learning process.
Now, oddly enough, I don't know how I've done it. I've probably screwed up, 7 total stems since I've started. Mm-hmm. But again, my memory over here is reminding me. And I have all but I think one of them that I keep around just as a reminder. And it's always when you're like 90% done that everything goes to hell. It's like, I could take just a little bit more off. Well, there's the airway.
Right, exactly. It's always just that last little bit where you're like, I should have quit while I was ahead.
Yep.
So
Yep.
So we need some so we've been going for a while now, and I don't want to keep you all night unless you have all night. We'll just sit here and shoot the breeze. I gotta know. So I don't know if you consider yourself an artist or not, but I've been in the creative world for a long time, and I know for a fact all creators have these ideas bubbling in the back of their mind of things they want to do and things they'd like to try. What is something that is in the back of your mind right now that you're gonna try on your next, maybe in your next few custom pipes to make something unique? Like, what do you really want to do that you haven't done yet?
I don't know. Typically, like I said, because I'm not artistic by nature, but I'm the kind of person that I'll like sporadically come up with an idea and I'll be like, yeah, I could do that. So I don't ever really have like this one thing. It's like, I've got to do this. I do have a cool idea for a Cavalier that I'll probably be knocking out pretty soon. Kind of like a more neo-modern classic kind of vibe with some aluminum banded accents and things like that. But other than that, I really don't typically have grand ideas like that. They usually kind of come as I'm working.
That's really interesting. And another thing I do love about this community is people are so humble. Looking at your work on Instagram, I would argue that you are an artist. Like, your work is artistic. Like, there's creativity involved, and it's really, some of them are just beautiful to look at. And honestly, I kind of want to get one just to display in my studio here, just to have it. Yeah, and that's kind of one of my kind of things. So I have this weird thing about collecting. I'm a collector. I have piles of junk that I have collected over the decades, and I know for a fact the second that I start really collecting like very, very high-end pipes and dropping some real money on these things, I'm gonna have to keep doing it. But part of my problem is, as a collector, I won't want to actually take fire to these things because I'll feel guilty about it later. And I have a feeling like, your pipes, I kind of would be the same way. Like, I have this, beautiful thing that was custom made. I almost don't want to take fire to it. What are your feelings on, artisan pipes like that, like really high-end custom pipes? I know they're made to be used, but at the same time, I mean, there's a level of artistic craftsmanship involved.
I have the same problem. That's why I periodically I will accumulate pipes, and then I will sell those pipes because I know I have a threshold, a specific threshold, and I'm not going to say what the number is. You can probably hear my wife laughing, but I will accumulate artisan pipes, and I'll never smoke them. 9 times out of 10, if I'm smoking a pipe, it is it's always another maker's pipe. But I have a tendency to lean towards like old Hardcastles, older Barlings, Sassini pipe like that, 1940s and 50s. I have a 63 Dunhill that I've never even smoked.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great.
I stole it. I mean, literally, I stole that thing. $119. But
wow, you did. You should feel good about that one, man.
Well, the $25 Dunhill was the best one, but I bought a Stummel on eBay.
$25 Dunhill, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Wow, now that's a steal. Like you should be in trouble for that one.
Well, I bought a bag of random Stummels on eBay for like $25 free shipping. So I get them, and there's like 3 that were crap, but I'm looking at this one. It's like flipped it over. And I was like, I can clean this off. So clean it off. Get some. It's like, oh well, it's a Dunhill. And somebody just thrown in the bag. So I sent it to Jim Brown, Heisenberg Pipes, and Jimmy put a stem on it for me. I think I honestly had like 45 in it because he charged me $25 for the stem and the refurbishment. So he made a stem, of course, put a little white dot in it and all that. But yeah, so like 40. It was honestly a $45 Dunhill, but that one I did smoke. Mostly because it didn't cost hardly anything.
Right, what are you losing, really?
Well, exactly. I think Jimmy basically charged me for the ebonite and the Everclear he used to sanitize the bowl. That's about it.
Wow.
But yeah, I did smoke that one. This one I should smoke. It was only $119, and honestly, comparatively, when artisan pipes go for like a minimum of $180 now, I should be honestly smoking the hell out of that thing. I just haven't for some reason.
Yeah, artisan pipes are going for a minimum of $180. I mean, some of the pipes that I saw that, I mean, I'm not judging it. I know some real craftsmanship was involved, but some of the pipes that I saw at the Columbus show that weren't even that special were going for, $300, $400, or $500 in some cases. Now, granted, I mean, again, some of them were absolutely amazing and were worth every single penny, but some of them were like, I don't know, that's for somebody else. But the prices on these things, and maybe and that's a trend that I've noticed too, is over the last couple of years, I've noticed artisan pipes really almost skyrocketing in price, like really getting up there in price. Do you think that's because the community is just becoming more involved? Do you think it's because the community's getting smaller and therefore the artists have to charge slightly more to make that profit margin? What do you think that is?
My wife and I actually talked about that a lot. And the community's growing. I mean, exponentially growing. If you look at just the sheer amount of followers that a lot of the artists and makers have, the community's growing. I think, I don't know, I'm a bit perplexed by the whole thing because back in the day when I started selling cobs, and this goes towards what you're asking. I was charging $45. Then I bumped it to 55, and I felt like a piece of shit because oh man, I'm ripping these people off. And then I went to 75. And then Jason Dagner, who I, did a lot of collaboration stuff with, he's got a ton of my pipes. You know what? He's like, dude, you need to be charging at least 95. So I bumped my price to 95. You don't see that anymore. You literally will see a guy start making pipes or gal, and it's like $150.
Yeah, off the bat, easily, and they can get it in a lot of cases.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, you spent $500 on stickers and branding, but you dumbass didn't spend $50 on sandpaper.
Right, exactly.
You know, buy the sandpaper before you start the branding.
So, what do you think? No, go ahead. Finish your thought. Go ahead, please.
Oh, I'm done.
No, okay. So I didn't mean to interrupt you. So what do you think that is? Do you think it's the community is just so hungry for these custom pipes? Do you think so? A lot of the things you hear is that the community is slightly shrinking because it's just the nature, of the way that the tide ebbs and flows. But you're saying that the community is growing, which is awesome. I'm happy to hear that. That's fantastic. Do you think it might be that since the community is growing, again, there's just this shortage of, really good custom pipes. So people see, Joe Blow coming out of nowhere having an inferior product and saying it's custom, and they can get the price for it they ask. What do you think it is?
I think that's a lot of it. And human nature is, well, it's almost as good and it's $50 less. So I'll buy that. Most people do not embrace the buy once, cry once, mentality. Of course, with pipes, it's not a buy once, cry once. It's a buy over and over and over again and cry over and over again. But that's the nature of, the pipe acquisition disorder. But I think a lot of times, especially for newer guys, because I get a ton of newer guys, and, they're like, well, my friend has, 15 of your pipes, and he says yours are the best, and I want one. And I'm like, whoa, hold up. How many pipes have you smoked?
Right.
One at his barbecue 2 weeks ago. Let's go with, shooting myself in my foot, but it's never actually shot me in the foot because they've always come back. It's like, why not go with just a regular cob? And if you don't know what tobaccos to buy, you send me your address and I'll send you some samples of the main varieties of tobacco. And I've done that, you guess my wife, dozens of times. They always come back, but it's usually like 6 months later, maybe a year later. Because I think that they're, like you said, people are so hungry for a custom that, 150 looks better than 180. And 180 looks better than 220. And 220 looks better than 3. So they'll so these newer guys that maybe don't have the skill set, and I'm not talking shit, but I think that maybe, you should spend more on sandpaper than you do on stickers. and custom embroidered pipe pouches, which we all know that pipe pouch 9 times out of 10 gets thrown in a drawer or a trash can.
Right.
So I think a lot of the newer guys are the ones that are buying these customs, because I remember when I got into pipe smoking, I'm listening to these dudes talking about like W.O. Larson and Peterson, and all this that all seemed like so grandiose to me. It's so exciting. Here I am with my gray bow, my Walgreens Dr. Gray bow, and I'm like, oh man, this just isn't cool. This isn't as cool as these other guys' pipes. They have all these cool pipes. So it's like, so then, you know, so then you jump on the first, custom that's affordable. Now, thankfully, I went with Neil Monnier, Garage Made Pipes. Fantastic maker. He's probably this is just solely my opinion, the best pipe maker, custom pipe maker.
Wow, really? I'll have to look into that.
That's just my opinion, but Neil is a fantastic dude. He helped me out a lot. Taught me, well, he gave me a lot of his secrets. So I think very highly of Neil. But back then he was selling his custom pipes for like $90. And I bought a badass, of course, it was back when the Ants was very popular. So I bought the badass Ants off of him with a green Cumberland stem. I didn't know what Cumberland was. I just knew that it was the thing to have. So, because everybody told me that was the thing to have. You gotta have Cumberland stem, man.
Right, it's a buzzword. So you pick it up. That makes sense.
So now I work with a lot of it, but yeah, I think the biggest thing is, as a new pipe maker, you can sell pipes to new smokers because they want custom. They want to feel like they're cool like their buddies. And hey, man, make your dollar, but make each pipe a little better.
Right,
as long as you can do that, props.
Right, and that's it. You're right. I think that does make a big difference. I mean, you see a lot of these, you see a lot of really cool branding going on with some pipe makers, and maybe their pipes themselves just aren't quite as, up to par with others. So that makes perfect sense. But I mean, honestly, if you ever start a website, I mean, you will have work all day, every day. I mean, you could employ 4 people underneath you, and you'd still be able to sell every one of those as soon as they were done.
I've heard this before, actually.
I've
heard this before. That would be hard for me to do. I mean, I suppose if I cut every stem and did all the drilling, and
right, and like we were saying earlier, it comes down to you don't want to become an assembly line, and that makes perfect sense. So, it's interesting. So, and you may agree with this, you may not. I actually have my own feelings on this guy. We'll call him an artist. I'm not sure I totally agree with that term for this guy. There's a glass blower called Chihuly. Do you know who Chihuly is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, funny thing, he doesn't actually create most of his art. He actually has a studio full of artists who work underneath him, and he'll direct. He'll actually come over and he'll direct what's going on, and he'll tell them what to do and how to do it. And in the end, it's an amazing thing, and he gets all the credit. But in the meantime, he didn't actually do a lot of the work. But, I mean, I could envision something similar happening with, you could actually have more hands-on than a Chihuly. But, you could actually have a studio of people, and you could actually just direct what's going on. And you'd still have, full contact with all your pipes that came out. So, I don't know, food for thought, just maybe for the future. Because, I mean, your pipes are amazing. And, just so everybody knows, everybody watching, under Eric's name here, I did misspell his Instagram tag. It's EMC Custom Cobs, not ECM. So EMC Custom Cobs on Instagram. Is that the same on Facebook, by the way?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Or you're more welcome to follow me on my regular old-fashioned Eric Mills page, which a lot of people for some reason do.
Okay, just your personal page?
So,
okay, that's good to know too. Yep, it's just your personal. Just look for Eric Mills on Facebook too. That'll work. Hey, can you give us your email address one more time and say it slow so people can write this down?
That is umxfit@gmail.com, and I'm sure West will be happy to put that link that in the bottom.
I absolutely will. In the description of this video, I will make sure to add that. I will correct any misspellings of your Instagram. I apologize for that again. Just one of those things. Well, in that case, I didn't misspell it. In that case, it's perfectly fine. Don't think twice about it. But Eric, thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I mean, your work is incredible. And
I appreciate having the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. Seriously. So you're always putting out pipes every single week, and you're putting those up on your Facebook page and your Instagram. So if anybody's interested, and you don't send Eric an email, check out his Facebook page, check out his Instagram to see what he has, coming on the market as far as his pipes. And you said your custom blends should be available in maybe mid-September, which I'm really excited about.
We're shooting for mid-September, ideally. Don't hold me to that. Like I said, we're going to try them. Yeah, I'm going to send some to some people. I'll send you some over and kind of I would like to have, a number of opinions. I've heard good things about the blender. I'm not going to mention his name just yet because he asked me not to. But as soon as it's official, I'll be tagging the hell out of him. So
is he a known blender now, and he just for now wants to remain anonymous, or he's just like a very low key dude?
He's very low key, and he only does small batch stuff. So, and for right now, he wants to make sure that everything is ironed out as far as the blends go before I go promoting too much. And Katrina goes promoting it too much on her social media. So, like I said, I think it'll be pretty awesome. Back when I first started, I always sent tobacco with every pipe. And, as a gesture of appreciation, also, something for you to break your pipe in with. So, that's a cool tradition that I'd like to get back to.
No, of course, that's awesome. I mean, I can't wait to try that. I love trying artisanal blends. I think that's going to be the next real big wave, in my opinion, because I think a lot of people are just waking up to the... So first of all, I'm a sucker for small batches, but I think a lot of people are really waking up to the artisanal blends. I've seen a lot more of those starting to pop up. But Eric, man, thanks again for your time. Thank your wife for me for letting you take some time out of your Friday evening and do this. It was a real pleasure speaking with you, and I can't wait to speak with you again. We will absolutely talk again.
All right, brother.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And so Blake, thanks again for this, for the luxury bullseye flake. I will totally do a full review on this. Super, super great gift. And everybody else, we will talk to you soon. Later.
Yeah, it was good talking to you.
Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood. Funkin' up the neighborhood. I felt fool cause the funkin' was good. Funk you in the city, funk you up in the woods. Funkin' up the neighborhood.